Hey guys, thank you very much for joining again, or of course for watching the recording. If you're watching the recording in my Facebook group, Expats in CZE Help and Support Group, or of course if you're watching the recording on YouTube, then of course thank you for watching it there. Today's topic is student visa for the Czech Republic. So I'll go through everything, like the required documents, the difference between student and the other purpose of stay, because that's a very significant difference. I'll talk about the advantages and disadvantages of the student visa. And yeah, that's basically it. So I will cover the whole, and of course the required documents for the student visa. So I will cover all these topics. If you have any questions, you know that already, so stay with me and ask the questions. I'll reply them either right away if they're related to the topic, or if not, I will reply them at the end. So let's go through that. So first, 5 advantages of the student visa. Number 1, the process of getting it is relatively simple compared to other types of residency like a business visa or an employee card. Number 2, student visa allows you to get employed in the Czech Republic. Number 3, student visa allows you to apply for the job seeker visa once you finish your studies. That's the only type of visa that allows that. Number 4, you can start business in the Czech Republic during your studies, and it's actually much easier than if you do it under any type of visa. Any other type of visa. And then number 5, fifth advantage of having a student visa is cheaper health insurance. Those were 5 advantages. Now let's go through 4 disadvantages of having the student visa. So number 1, disadvantage of having the student visa is that all your years spent here under the student residency or the visa only count as half of a year. So if you generally you can get a permanent residency after 5 years, but as a student you would need to be here for 10 years because all the years count as half. Number 2, you need to renew the visa yearly. For some other types of visas or residence permits, you can get them for 2 years and renew them every 2 years. With a student visa, it's every year. Number 3, that might sound like an advantage, but it's actually a disadvantage because students have a special branch. They need to go only to one special branch of the Ministry of the Interior in Hladkov, and that's not a win in the lottery. The branch is very old. Everything works pretty strangely there. Plus, you cannot go there without an appointment. You always need to book an appointment in advance. And for most agendas, the appointments are booked for weeks or months in advance. So it's sometimes very difficult for you to get there to do something. And number 4, for a student visa, you need to pass an immigration interview. That applies to business visa, for example, as well. But for example, for an employee card or for family reunification, you don't need to do an interview. And for the student visa, the interview can be pretty thorough. So those were 4 disadvantages of having the student visa. Now, let's go through 9 documents needed for the student visa. So number 1, application form. Number 2, passport. Number 3, 1 or 2 passport size photos, depending on what you exactly applying for. Number 4 would be proof of accommodation. Number 5 is a criminal check from the country of your origin. Number 6 would be acceptance letter or the admission letter. Number 7 would be consent of parents, but that only applies if you're below some age limit. Number 8 is a health insurance, but actually you only need to get it once your visa is approved. And number 8 would be proof of funds. You need to have enough money in your bank account to apply for the student visa, and that's one of the other required documents. So those were 9 documents needed for the student visa. And let's now go to one very important thing, and that's the difference between a student visa and so-called other purpose of stay or other visa, because that's a very significant difference, which have many impacts in different spheres. So let's go through that. For a student visa, you need to study an accredited program. of a university. If the program is not accredited, you in most cases cannot get the student visa, but you're getting so-called other purpose of stay, other visa. And that's very significant because, for example, as I was mentioning, the advantages of having the student visa, for example, that you can work, you can get employed as a student, that does not apply to the other purpose of stay. So if you enroll into some course or program which is not accredited, then you cannot get employed. So that's very significant difference. On the other hand, for example, as I mentioned, the student visa only counts as half. All the years spent under student visas count only as a half of years towards the permanent residency. But the other purpose of stay, the years there count normally. So if you stay here 5 years as a student, you only get like 2.5 years towards the permanent residency. But if you stay here for 5 years as the other purpose of stay, then you get the full 5 years. As I mentioned, also the difference is that under a student visa, you can work. Under the other purpose, you cannot work. You can get a trade license, that's possible. But again, there will be a difference because students can also get a trade license, but you don't need, as a student, you don't need to get a criminal check from the country of your origin. If you have the other purpose of stay, other visa, you have to get the criminal check from the country of your origin. So that can make a difference of a couple weeks and couple, maybe 1,000 crowns or maybe even more. I know that's basically it. Those are the most important differences, but people often confuse that because they say, hey, I'm a student, but actually they're not a student. They're under the other purpose of stay because their courses are not accredited. And that usually applies to courses of Czech language, for example, or preparatory courses for universities, or some other courses or programs of universities that are not accredited. So even some of the biggest universities, private universities, cannot be accredited, or some of them programs at least. So always make sure that you know which one you apply for. If you are a proper student with accredited program and you apply for a student visa, or if you are the other purpose of stay and you cannot get the student visa. So the one thing to be super careful about when you're applying for a student visa is to make sure that you're a proper student. Because if you are not a proper student, you will not fall under the student visa category, but under the other purpose of stay category, and that will change everything significantly. The application process, the approval process, the rights you have. And I mentioned that in the 5 advantages and 4 disadvantages of the student visa. So guys, today it was kind of fast. I know it's late, so not too many of you were joining. Let me see on YouTube. So guys, I will give you a couple more seconds to ask questions, but if there are no further questions, I will be dancing like this, as you know already. Very awkwardly, and then I will finish the stream. But of course, if you have any questions regarding your student visa, get in touch with me. I have links everywhere in the description or in the bio or description of the YouTube, description, of course, of the YouTube channel, but description of the Facebook group as well. You can also find me on TikTok. You can find me on Instagram. I'm everywhere under the same name, Jan Kalina. Sometimes it's Jan Kalina official, sometimes it's without that. But everywhere I have the author, immigration expert, and public speaker, because I do that as well, trainings and public speaking. Salas, thank you. My pleasure. If you have any questions, Salas, please feel free to ask. I'll be happy to answer those. Can be related to a student visa, doesn't have to. But if you don't have any questions, I will finish the live stream. But before you type in, definitely type in if you have any questions. But before you do that, I'll go through everything we've covered today, just one more time to make sure that it's recorded properly. So, 5 advantages of having the student visa. Number 1, relatively easy process compared to some other types of visas. Number 2 allows you to get employed. Number 3 allows you to get the job seeker visa. Number 4, you can start a business in an easier way in the Czech Republic. And number 5, you have a cheaper health insurance in most cases. And then 4 disadvantages of having the student visa, and that's mainly number 1, that your years only count as a half year towards the permanent residency. So if you've studied here for 5 years, you only have 2.5 years of a record to the permanent residency. Number 2, you have to renew the student visa every year. Some types of visas are approved for 2 years, so you only renew them once in 2 years. Student visa or student residence permit is renewed every year. Number 3, you have a special branch where you need to go to, which might sound as an advantage, but it's actually not, because the branch is very old, very crowded, and it's very difficult to get something done there. And number 4, you need to do an interview at the embassy when you're applying for a student visa, and the interview can be pretty intense and pretty deep, and many people fail at the interview, and then the visa is not granted because their motivation is not high enough, according to the ministry. Okay, then 9. Okay. Then we also talked about 9 documents needed for the student visa. Number 1, application form. Number 2, passport. Number 3, 2 passport size. 3, 2 passport size photos. It's really late here, guys. Number 4, proof of accommodation. Number 5, proof of funds. Number 6, admission letter. Number 7, consent of parents if you're below some age. Number 8, criminal check. And number 9 would be health insurance, but that's only needed once you get approved. And then the most important thing to keep in mind if you're applying for a student visa is to double check that you are a real student, because there are 2 types of studies. One is a proper study, if you study an accredited course of a Czech university. The other one is so-called other purpose of stay, which can also be a study, but it doesn't grant you the student status, and hence it doesn't grant you some of the advantages I talked about in the beginning. So that was the whole topic, guys. So the last chance to ask some questions. So I see that some of you are still online, both on YouTube and on Facebook. So I'll give you like 10 more seconds to ask some questions if you have. If you don't have any, I'll be finishing the live stream and I'll be going home. It's been too late already here. So for those of you who follow me, you know that now there's the time for the very beer dance, while you still have like 5 seconds to write questions. And if you don't have any questions, I'll be finishing the stream and leaving soon. But thank you guys, all of you, for joining, and especially for those of you who are joining every time. Because it really helps me keep going. And see you on Thursday. Bye-bye.